You know, it might not seem like it right now, but the Lakers had quite a few problems entering this season, many of which date back to last season, whether it be defensive issues, offensive issues, rebounding issues, depth issues. Many claimed and assumed that they were unfixable, and this team was simply too far gone to fix any of them, let alone a majority of them. But now with them being 7-2 and overcoming quite a few issues, not to mention playing without LeBron, playing without Luka Doncic for a few games, Austin Reeves for a few games, I think it's safe to say that they have overcome many of them, and have simply overcome a lot in general. But with that being said, what were those specific issues? Are they now fixed, and how are they looking compared to the doom and gloom entering this season? Well, if you've been following the channel before their win streak, before their 7-2 and many hop back on the bandwagon, then you probably know what I'm talking about. So we're gonna go back and look at those issues that many claimed or that were actually legitimately there from last season, and if they have corrected them, are in the process of doing so, or maybe are falling a bit flat yet. So that's what we're gonna do during today's video. Talk about their biggest problems entering this season, and now reflect on how they're currently looking. So without further ado, beginning with problem number 1 that's been a problem for much more than simply this season or entering it, dating back to literally 5 years ago now, that being their transition defense. You know, if you've kept up with the channel, then you know this has been my biggest complaint, not only this season, last season, but dating all the way back to 2022, and shout out to you guys that have actually been watching that long. But since then, the Lakers have been a bottom 5 transition defense every single season. And no, I'm not joking about that. Being in the bottom 5 every year from the 2021-22 NBA season. And once again, they were that last season, ranking 25th in opponent fast break points per game, giving up 17 of them per game, which, although is not good, that was the best in that 5-year time frame for them. Pretty poor improvement, but it was some improvement, and it was something to build off that we were hoping that they might be able to greatly improve entering this season. And well, I can hardly believe it, but they are currently improving it, and actually appear to be in a good place to maintain it too. Believe it or not, they're currently giving up the 7th fewest fast break points per game to their opponent through 8 games so far, or rather 9 games so far now, giving up only 14 fast break points per game to their opponent, again ranking 7th, actually tied for 7th, doing very good and in large part behind a more vocal defense led by Marcus Smart. I've talked plenty about this, so I won't go too far in depth, but I've been very impressed with their communication on defense, their commitment on defense, and simply getting their half-court defense set up. So big shout out to them so far, but now they have to maintain it. But okay, great. The transition defense is looking a whole lot better, but is that it for them? Or are there more issues that they've actually been able to correct? Well, pointing to a different one and also on defense here, that being their defensive playmaking ability, aka their ability to cause turnovers and turn that into points on the other end. This is something that they've actually quietly improved too. Dating back to last season, they were not a good defensive playmaking team, ranking the 8th worst in steals per game, averaging only 7.7 of them per game, also the 8th worst in deflections per game, only averaging 15.2 per game. And if we now compare that to this season, it's been a whole lot better. Not quite there yet, and not a top 10 team in either category, but they currently rank 12th in steals per game compared to 22nd, now averaging 9 of them per game, and that translating to a whole lot of points on the other end too, as they currently rank the 3rd highest in points off turnovers per game, generating 22.4 points per game off turnovers. So yes, it's not quite perfect yet, but with the additions of Marcus Smart and Jake the Raby alone, they're averaging over 3 steals per game between the two of them. And no, that's not per 36-minute average, that's their regular average in roughly 28 minutes per game each. Very impressive. Then with Jared Vanderbilt also averaging over 1 steal per game, even guys like Austin Reeves and Luka Doncic averaging over 1 per game, they've improved their defensive playmaking ability, and it's greatly helped their defense and offense for that fact too. So yes, another area that has shown improvement, isn't quite perfect yet and could stand to improve a little bit more, but there is some noticeable improvement compared to last season, especially post-trade deadline. And well, talking about their defense and their defensive improvement, I think it's been pretty clear. Whether you're talking about their full court defense, again the thing that needed the most improvement in my opinion, definite and obvious improvement in that regard. Then for their defensive playmaking, also improved, so I've been very impressed, and I think it's safe to say that they have improved defensively. Even only 9 games in, I think it's fairly obvious, and as long as they stay relatively healthy, I mean they haven't even been that healthy at this point anyway, I think there's a pretty good bet for them to have a much better defense this season and to maintain what they have shown so far, especially with Marcus Smart and his leadership. But apart from their defense and then transitioning to a different area, that being their rebounding, more so their offensive rebounding rather than their defensive rebounding, but their rebounding in general. But beginning with their offensive rebounding, last season they were a bottom 5 team in offensive rebounds per game, and unfortunately that has not really changed that much, currently being a bottom 5 offensive rebound per game team at this point too. But if you go to the offensive rebound percentage and simply the eye test, I think there has been some minor improvement to point to. No, nothing major so far, and definitely not comparable to their defense, neither their full court defense or their defensive playmaking ability, but I do think there's been some minor improvement here. Compared to last season where they had a 27.2% offensive rebound percentage, now they have one of 30.9%, rather than ranking in the bottom 10, ranking at 16th in regard to offensive rebound percentage. So compared to being a pretty bad offensive rebounding team at grabbing the offensive rebounds that are actually available to them, now they're around league average, in large part due to DeAndre Ayton alone in my opinion. Him currently averaging 3 offensive rebounds per game, higher than anyone on their team post-trade deadline last season, and simply a pretty good offensive rebounder for them in general. I think that's been a large part of it. You know, they're not a big-time crashing team off the glass, but when they do and when they let more than one guy do it, when it's not only DeAndre Ayton, they can at least be an average offensive rebounding team. You know, it's not really their bread and butter per se, but I think there is some minor improvement here. Yes, again, mainly in regard to DeAndre Ayton, but also with a healthy Jared Vanderbilt. Jackson Hayes has shown a little bit of improvement, even Hachimura at times, and even Jake LaRavia at times too. I think there's been some minor improvement, not anything to write home about, but it's been decent overall. So for their offensive rebounding, a little bit of improvement, again not anything crazy, but I think overall their rebounding ability is okay. Could be a little bit better. I wouldn't call it a major improvement compared to last season, something they still have to work on a little bit. But I think with the eventual return of LeBron, eventual return of even Maxi Kleber, even maybe potentially a Duke Thero, I think there is some room for improvement left here. However, while their offensive rebounding may have barely improved last season, that cannot be said for their ability to score points in the paint. Compared to last season post-trade deadline and post-All-Star break, where they average only 44.3 points in the paint per game, ranking bottom 5 in the entire NBA, that's not the case this season. Compared to that where they were a bottom 5 team, now they have become a top 5 team in points in the paint per game. Compared to their 44.3 average, now they're averaging over 55 points in the paint per game. And that's even without LeBron playing, a guy that was probably their best at scoring in the paint last season. Even without him on the court, even with Luka Doncic, who is a very 3-point shooting oriented player, adding guys like DeAndre Ayton, that's obviously done wonders for them, him averaging 17.5 points per game, many of which and pretty much all of which come in the paint and or the mid-range area, all of which are 2-point shots for him. That's helped a lot, simply more designed plays to get in the paint a bit more, attacking it and making it a bigger priority for their team compared to 3-point shooting and simply being around the 3-point line a bit more. I think that's been a noticeable improvement for them and has definitely benefited their offense too, as they currently rank as a top 3 offense, not to mention their starting lineup is the number 1 rated offense too. So definite and obvious improvement for their scoring ability in the paint, again especially post-trade deadline compared to their team last season. I'd say it's gotten a lot better, they're making a bigger priority, and it's shown thus far very obviously. But then for one final improvement, I'd simply point to their depth. In my opinion, even without LeBron and many other guys playing thus far, it's been very good and one of the standouts to their team. And compared to their team post-trade deadline last season, especially during the postseason, where JJ Redick even ran a 5-man rotation during an entire half during a playoff game, even before that, often running an 8, 7, and 6-man rotation, their depth wasn't that great. But compare that to now where they have 6 guys averaging over 10 points per game, Luke averaging 40 points per game, Austin averaging 31 points per game, Ayton averaging 17.5 per game, Rui averaging nearly 17 per game, Jake averaging 12, and Marcus Smart averaging over 10. Even apart from that, I'd say their depth in general has been pretty damn good, both offensively and defensively. They have a ton of guys that they can rely on, even guys like Nick Smith who can come out of nowhere and drop 25 off the bench when all 3 of LeBron, Luka, and Austin sit out. I'd say their depth has been great, and one of, if not the biggest improvement for their team this season compared to late last season. However, I will finish up by saying that not everything has been better for them. There have been a few things that have actually gone down rather than go up. Don't get me wrong, they've definitely shown much more improvement compared to regression, but I will say one area has been their 3-point shooting. Up until this point, it's not been very good. Throughout their first 9 games, they're actually a bottom 10 3-point shooting team in all 3 categories of 3-point shots made per game, ranking second worst in the entire NBA, only making 10.3. 3-point shots attempted, ranking 26th with only 31.1 attempted, and 3-point percentage, ranking 24th at a 33% clip. And compared to last season, especially post-trade deadline, that's been some obvious regression. However, again, I will say that they've been a great offense in spite of it, currently being a top 3 offense in the entire NBA. Again, the number 1 rated starting lineup offense, so if they find a way to improve their 3-point shooting, I can only imagine how good their offense will be after that point, and if they get a fully healthy LeBron back too. So overall here, whether you're talking about their offense, defense, rebounding, depth, it's been a whole lot better for them. And in my opinion, this is a much better Lakers team, and they're currently proving it too. But with all of that being said, what do you guys think? How do you feel about the Lakers' problems from last season, and how they have now been able to either correct them, are working on it, or maybe have not corrected them? How do you feel about it, and how do you feel about this current iteration of the Lakers team? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. But I think that'll pretty much do it for this one. And if you enjoyed the video, then I would greatly appreciate it if you dropped a like, subscribe to the channel if you have not already, and hit that notification bell to never miss out when I upload a video. But as always, thank you for watching, and have a great day or night.